Hi everyone, it's Rona. Today we are going to do a follow along for drawing the Stranger from Destiny. I'm going to be using a ball jointed doll as our model. Now for those of you who don't know what a ball jointed doll is, they're very expensive, very well made and crafted dolls that come from Japan. And they come in normal Barbie size, but also the large almost 1 foot and the almost 2 foot dolls, which are 1/3 the size of a human being. So they're very highly detailed and their joints are very well made, and they make great photographs to work from. The person who photographed their ball joint doll has an account at DeviantArt, and I will give you that account information right now, but I will also have it down in the bottom of the page. It is BJD-Dolls DeviantArt.com. That's BJD-Dolls, and you can find them at DeviantArt.com. Alright, we're going to switch real quick to the Sketchbook Pro setup. And there we are. I've got my desktop all set up and ready to go. And how did I get in the top corner? Oh, I think I moved it the other day. Alright, so you can see I have a couple of reference pieces here on my desktop. The first one, I'm going to blow this one up for you real quick. This is the Stranger. If you're not familiar with her, she is from Destiny. She is an Exo. And Exos are really interesting. I don't want to call them a race of persons. They're not people, but they're androids that over time have developed very complex spiritual soul characteristics. I can't really call them a race because they don't breed, they don't make children, and they don't create new exos. They're basically were created for war, and over time the survivals, the ones that have survived, have developed very highly. The Stranger appears in Destiny 1 and Destiny 0, and rumor has it she may not be in Destiny 2, but I do hope to see her somewhere in the future. She's a very interesting character. My second, let me turn this layer off real quick. This is the ball jointed doll that we're going to be using. There were scenes in Destiny 1 and 2, or not 2, Destiny 1, where the Stranger is up on a cliff looking down, and I really loved this pose. She did a fantastic job of posing this ball jointed doll, and you can see that these almost look like human beings. I mean, they have, but they have, you know, perfect anime or perfect proportions for cartoons, comics. They have very heroic proportions. They're not, you know, average human beings. They are beautiful in a Hollywood type of beauty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the layer that she is on, and I'm going to fade it just by grabbing my slider here on my layers panel and make it real lightweight so that I can see easily. I'm going to take this bottom layer that's empty, and I'm going to move it above that one because that will be my inking layer. Clicking on the reference image again, what I want to do is I want to blow it up even larger so that I'm keeping a lot of my original page, because I have a very nice size set up and I want to keep as much of that as possible. So let's see if I can crank that up a bit. Alright, I think that fits pretty well for the idea that I'm going for. Alright, back to our ink layer. Oh, I need to save this really quick. See, File, Save As, Desktop, Gurgly Gurk, as I often do, Gurgly Gurk, Save. And I am saving it as a PSD because of all the layers, and then I can also pop it into Photoshop for later editing. Now, one of the first things I want to do is I'm going to tilt it because I am right-handed, and I'm just going to blow up the whole image and tilt it so that I can do the face first. And for those of you who have watched my videos before, you know that I love doing the face first because if I get the face wrong, then I get very frustrated. Now, of course, we're not going to be using this human face. We're going to be using the Exo's face. And I have my image of the Exo right here. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to move it over. I'm going to twist it as well. See, there we go. And just move it over where I can, ooh, it goes right off that page, where I can see it. That'll work. Perfect. Alright. Now, there's going to be a lot of sketching going on. This may not wind up being my ink layer at all. This may wind up being my sketch layer, and then I will ink on top of that. So thinking with that in mind, I think I'll just grab some dark blue, and my favorite brush, if you look over here on the left hand side, is my scroungy brush. It's like a multi-purpose brush I use for almost everything. So if we use her eyes as a guide for the Exo's eyes, and she has this metal plate that comes down over her nose, and where the tip of her nose is here, you can see it's got like it's got that piece. Now, what I find interesting, of course, about these Exos is that they have very human proportions to their face. You can see I'm drawing directly on this doll's face, and it works very well as an Exo frame. Where her cheeks are, the Exo's cheeks are, I think that's a little too deep, because I'd imagine that these side pieces here on the cheeks, you know, they seem to be right where we have that opening in our between our top jaw and our bottom jaw. So I want to do that. And this top lip of hers, that's not truly a lip, but it has that shape to it. And then there's the bottom lip that corresponds with her jaw. So there we go. Maybe that's even just a little bit wider. She has a darker place here, but it's got a little bit of a circular curve at the top. See how that cuts in on the stranger's face? It's not quite straight up. You know, the power of being an artist is really and truly in the power of observation. And the more you observe and look at things, the more you learn, and the more you can draw. So it's often about looking at the little fine details. She's got almost little lines right here, doesn't she, where those eyes show up. Okay, this has a line here that goes, curves on both sides, and that dark shape here, which, no, I've shaped it wrong, it's more rounded. It's actually skinnier at the top. I think it droops. There we go. More teardrop shape, like if it was, you know, if it was a teardrop, it'd almost be like that. But it's, you can see it's not really a true teardrop shape. I love the details that Bungie has put into their creatures and aliens and races, even though this isn't really a race. I know that's a technicality, isn't it? I love the exos in there. My first two characters were exos, and then I finally settled on a human. But I think that was just because exos don't have hair, and I got tired of having no hair. I wanted hair on my character. Now, I'm really not sure what her jaw looks like, because it's in the shadows. Over here on this side, I'm going to use a little bit of a red right here. See, right here on that area right there seems to be something. Oh my goodness. Rona, look what you've done. You have done your inking on top of that layer. Oops. I should have put this one on the absolute top. See, everyone makes mistakes. So what I need to do is I need to get on this layer, cut off the ink, edit cut, no, select, control, cut, there we go, and control paste back on the correct layer before I get too carried away and get too messed up. That's roughly where I had it. Alright. See, everyone makes mistakes. The trick is catching them in time. Okay, back to our ink layer. So, yeah, there's something here, but I just can't see it where I've got this red. I'm guessing it looks like that. But, for now, I'm just going to follow her jawline and use the details that I do know. And it appears that she has like a corded, maybe some sort of steel corded piece right here. You can just see a little, turn to red, just a little hint of it right here. Hopefully I can find a better reference picture for that part of her. Alright, I'm going back to the blue. She has this hood on. Oh, I did it again. I'm still working on that same layer. Oh my gosh, Rona, you're stupid. See, isn't it nice to know that, like, you're not the only person that just screws stuff up, and I do this a lot. Dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Oh yeah, look how much I drew. Is Sorry, I have to laugh at myself because, you know, it's just how it is. Okay, now I'm on the ink layer, I swear to God, on the drawing layer. Alright, so she has this hood. I'm just going to go right over the top of her head as if she has hair, which we know Exos don't, but if you don't include some sort of bump there for hair, she'll wind up looking like she has no head at all, or no brain pan. Let me give you an example. This is one of the things I learned about drawing. If I draw, for example, where she has no hair and she's bald, and if you look at the image, she looks like she's all face and no cranium. And that's fine on characters like Zavala, who is bald. But you really want to, in most cases, you really want it to look like they have brains in there somewhere. The skull needs to be big enough. Alright, I'm going to move this image over somewhere. Again, let's move her over here. And that way I can work on this side. And this time remember to click back on the drawing layer. Alright, with her fingers, we're just going to, for now, just draw over these fingers. And I know that Exos don't have fingernails and all that, that's fine. I just really want to fill that in because, well, eventually we'll look at what type of armored gloves she's wearing, which are very black and appear to have a plastic piece here, or armored top. And you really won't see much of it from this angle. You might see a little bit of a rivet. You can see here that her forearm, you see a little bit of the bottom of the forearm, and whatever armor she has on here, let's see, I have to make lines that look like armor that follows around her arm. And then here is her shoulder, and her cape will be there, covering up over the shoulder. So I'm not going to draw all that just yet. On this other side, she has armored pieces here that look like they have almost a rolled up sleeve. And some sort of hanging fabric, I'm guessing. Not entirely sure. Because she has a lot of stitches. She's done a lot of stitches. This poor cloak she's using, she has worn it out completely. And worn it over and over and over again. Now, hunters have these fantastic bodies. And they show them off. So, when you're looking at breasts from up below, what I'm going to draw real quick, I'm going to sketch this out. You see, here's her belly button. This is a really good reason to use these dolls, because, you know, when they're naked, you can actually see where all these muscles and stuff are. So, you know, in this case, this would be where, you know, the ribs are and the female pecs. And the breasts are lumps of fat. And they attach right here through the middle. they still attach up here, but of course the weight of the fat in them slides them down. So you can already see here that expressed in the doll. She has lines that go through her costume. You know, I think that's a little bit more over, because if her nipples were here, I'm just guessing, it looks like that gold color goes under there with the blue stripe and then comes down and follows the line of her abs. So we can just kind of get rid of these abs. Just going to erase them real quick. And that gives us a basic idea of the clothing that she's wearing. Now, her belt in the doll is up higher on the waist and closer to the belly button. But, let me grab the red real quick. Her belly button would probably be right here, and so her belt is way lower. And you can tell that because here's that hip. I'm just going to... a very full hip curve on our Exo. So that would mean that this line goes down here, pretty much like that. And then it has the fishbone. Weaving, which, drawing that, I know I'm going to get it wrong. So I'm going to have to stop and really think about the fishbone weave. Means left, right, goes over. Oh gosh. You know, it's funny, I can do that easier with fabric than I can with drawing it. And let me just cheat and draw a zigzag down the middle. And then just fill that in. We're not even going to need all of it. But what does peek out, I want it to peek out correctly. Alright, there we go. There is a proper fishbone. I'm not crazy. Alright, this line from her neck, I'm going to have to re-add that. And then I said she had sort of a piece here, and then it's all dark in there that you can't see. Now her hood seems to be attached almost separately. I wonder why that is. Or maybe it's just tacked on there. Can't tell. But this comes way over her neck to this shoulder and then is tied on. Now if it's all bunched up because she's lifted her arm, then that means this would be more open here, and this would drape. This one's actually shorter than that one, and that one reaches down to her belt. So this one would go down a little farther, and this one would come this way. So the secret to draping fabric is zigzags. What I always do when I draw fabric that's folded on itself is zigzags. and then just go to these ends and then just go up, because then you can see this. Let's do this a little bit darker, and this comes a little darker, and that's how you get folds on the ends. And so what we're doing is we're looking at the folds on the ends of that cloak, and there's a tatter here and some more tattering that has happened to that cloak. And then it's going to fall over the side naturally. And still go around her body, which it seems to go pretty low. Alright, she has a strap here that comes across with a diagonal and a loop. I think we can now erase everything that's on the inside of that cloak area because it's now hidden by the cloak. And we can look at the decoration of the cloak. It has a fold here where it's been folded over and sewn. And it has a big gold stripe and another stripe here. And some stitching here, here. And there's little holes and the like. I'm going to save real fast and I'm going to shrink that down. She's already starting to look pretty good in my mind. Let's put this, I don't know if I like that angle. So I think in this case the cloak kind of takes the place of hair for these exos. Let's make that a little closer to her face. There we go. I think that looks pretty nice. Now, you can see she's got the width of the widest part of the hip. It's going to come like this and this. You can see just a little bit of her booty here because of the way it's sitting. And she has sort of stripe here, armored pants, and this goes over here and over here, almost like a pair of thighs. Right, so her belt, since we determined that her belly button was here, her belt is going to be more along this angle. And it'll probably have a curve like that because we're looking up at the character. But I don't want to do it too much. I don't want to overemphasize. And what I find kind of funny about wearing your hip on your belt like that, I don't know if any of you have ever worn belts on your hips like that. I remember the 80s very well. You can see that the top doesn't actually sit flush with her skin. You can almost slip your fingers in the top and run your fingers through the top because it's wide open there. It's not very secure and it's going to jingle around a lot when you run. But you know, if you're really good Exo and Guardian, I guess it really doesn't matter if it jingles. And Han Solo, same thing, you know, all his pistol belts just jangled, and oh, that would drive me crazy if I had to wear those. Actually, that's one of the funny things about my my own cosplay, my own Destiny cosplay. I built my belt. I cheated. I looked for the one belt that almost looked like a normal Earth current fanny pack, so that it wouldn't flop around and that it was more tight against my body. Right, so we're going to see just a hint of her hip underneath that cloak since she's lifted it up. And in that image she has some sort of weapon. You can see there's like a large circular something or other here. Not sure exactly what it is, but I'll just sketch it in just to get an idea of what it is. Alright, so continue the fish scale pattern all the way down. Zigzag. Oh, no, zigzag's too big. Yeah, I kind of like the zigzag pattern, the fishtail weave. It's probably pretty flexible and comfortable. Reminds me of the mummy, you know, because mummies were all embalmed with that fishtail pattern weave all over their bodies, which is really cool because when you look at the Osiris armor from this last year, the hunters had the bossed cat head armor. Oh god, that was so beautiful, so Egyptian. I loved it. It was gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's a shame that I don't do trials. I am not a competitive player. I am a PvE and raid person, and so I've kind of missed out on trials, but those lucky people who are really good at competitive, it's just so neat what they did for their armor. Alright, I'm going to trace out this hand. And you know what is awesome about this is she's already got a knife in her hand. Which, you know, all we have to do is just make that the hunter knife. Which I'll have to go look up a reference for, because I know it has a hook in it somewhere on top, which is very good for cutting, you know, seatbelts. Like if you ever look at a paramedic's knife, some of them have that hook in there for cutting seatbelts, but also if you look at skinning knives for skinning deer, they also have this really nice hook. You just like hook it in their skin and you just rip downward and it just comes right off. Alright, let's see. She's got something on her thigh, and at the same time I have this image here. I'm just gonna sketch that real fast. I don't like the angle of that. That's looking downwards. We need one that looks more looking upwards. There we go. Not too tight. There we go. Oh, I've got to stop. I've got a person at the door. Goodbye. Alright, I'm back. That was the postman. So that could not be helped. What that did do is that gave me an opportunity to go find some more reference material to try to find out what the Stranger's pants and boots look like. So I found this image and I just copied and pasted it in here on a layer. And of course what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of some of this image so that I can just focus on the parts that I need and want. And that way, no, wrong one. There we go. Can blow that up a little bit and get a little bit closer look at what's on her arm and leg. Alright, clicking back on my drawing layer. Let's see, she has 2 straps, which you really couldn't see in that other image. So let's see, here's 1 and 2 and a buckle here and another buckle here, and it looks like some sort of ammo bag. Not sure, but it's going to be a little bit thicker than her skin, so I want it to pop out just a little bit. It's going to interfere with the hand, but that can't be helped. It also appears like there's multiple layers of this, which I will add when I go to ink it in. This comes down here, her armor, and if you notice, it almost corresponds with where the muscles are in the leg. Now when you have muscles, you can see here's the knee. I'm just going to sketch this really fast so you can get a quick anatomy lesson. There's a muscle here that I often draw like a, yeah, you can see it here and here, like teardrop shapes. And it's because on this end it fades up into the body, but on this end, close to the knee, is where you get those big, juicy muscles that you can see even on this doll's leg. So this line almost follows right here that curve, and there's like a line here. I'm going to assume it's on the other side as well. She's got like a round piece here on the inside of the knee. Need to make those the same height. And maybe one on the inside. And then the one on the outside. And one that comes over. And a piece on the knee. Or over the knee. Now, I'm going to double check that because on this image, I'm going to turn this one off real quick. I want to look at this one. I'm going to blow this one up really fast. Also, get closer into that, looking at that knee. Her armor has a kneecap piece and then a flare. And there's a curve in that top. And it seems like there's like a, almost like a canister, like a can of Coke shape here. I'm not sure. On the other leg, you can definitely see some sort of knee pad, it looks like. And that circular can of Coke. You can just barely see it in this image. Right here goes a can of Coke. It's round, and then there's a piece like this, and then a front piece. I erase those really fast. Go back to this one. Curve that top piece. Now I'm going to move image out a little bit, and this is where it starts getting more and more difficult, trying to find images for the legs. I want those a little bit bigger. Seems to have almost like a thick boot that comes down. And it does seem to curve in the back on the one foot. I have to find better images. Much better images. Delete this. Let's look at this one again. No, there's nothing there for that boot, but they do show what's on her arm, which seems to be a very .3D modeled piece that comes out. Does anyone think that looks kind of like the old Xbox console? Oh, I'm on the wrong layer again. You know, you just throw your CD in there and you turn the on button on and off. It's kind of cool. There's an open spot on this side. Blue band and a black band. And then the piece that goes around her thumb makes that armor. What does she have on top? She has a piece of armor that does this, and another piece underneath, a traditional armor as we know it from the Middle Ages, pauldrons. Delete this other image, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the JB doll image real quick. I'm going to make it full color so you can see the name that's on there, right there in that top corner. BJD-Dolls.DeviantArt.com. BJD-Dolls.DeviantArt.com. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and delete that image as well. And this is what we're left with. Oh, you can see where I see, I need to draw a little bit of a toe there, don't I? Alright, I'm going to twist it back. clean up all of the little sketchy pieces that I got in there. And there we are. There is our drawing layer, and soon we will work on our ink layer. Thanks for joining me. I'm sorry about the postman interrupting in the middle. Life goes on for us artists. Have a good time, and I'll talk to you next time. Sorry for that big bring. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to twist this front leg a little bit differently, because once I shrank the image, I really didn't like how it looked. So I'm going to be using a transform tool, and that's not where I want to transform. I need to turn that off. Alright. I want to make a rectangle. No, I want to make this. And I'm going to grab this foot. And what I want to do is I want to move it in a little bit more this way. And I want to widen it some so it's more like in front. And I'm going to erase part of this foot, because this is where I want the earth to be. But what I want to do is I want to give the impression that you're looking more squarely at that leg. To do that, I'm going to re-angle this. Here's that soda can I was talking about. Just sketch around with it. Till I like more of what I see. I think that's more what I'm looking for as far as angles go. Let's shrink this image down a little bit. Yeah, now let's see. I think I also want to take this leg. I'm just going to grab the whole leg. And I want to move it I want to make the top a little wider as well. I'm going to grab that, just the top, thicken that thigh up a little bit. Alright, go back to my drawing tool. And make that hip a lot bigger. Because then it seems like she's got more weight on one leg and one leg more forward. Maybe shrink them a little bit as well. Let's grab this whole leg area and shrink them a little bit so she's not so long-legged. Yes, I like that much better. Alright, so it's really easy using some basic tools to change things about your picture. I'm going to make a background layer real fast. Just get an idea of what I want to do. I want to emphasize her with the way the rocks come down, because she's standing not far from a spawn point when you meet her at that gate on the moon, and I want to use that big curve to make some emphasis. Maybe something like that. Maybe make it even deeper. Alright, I think that's pretty interesting. Alright, I think this is a really good place to stop right now, and we'll get started up again, probably with the inking, or maybe I'll even paint this one. I'm not sure what I want to do with it just yet. I'm really happy with where it's going. I really like the direction, and now's a good time to take a break, get a glass of tea, check my phone messages, pop into my chat rooms for a few moments, say hi, and I'll be back in just a little bit.